The Chronicles of Riddick is here on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, released by Arrow Video. It can be found as a slipcover edition, available at your local and online retailers. I honestly don't think anyone had the plot for this movie on their bingo card after watching the first Riddick film, Pitch Black. I know I didn't. I'll give it credit that it was ambitious as far as an effort, but for me, it's the more fantastical mythology that didn't quite work. The entire necromongers elementals feels just a little out of place within the world established in the first film. You could have kept the Mercs, the prison escape planet of Crematoria, and built a film around this. There are parts of the movie I really do enjoy. Vin Diesel as Riddick is always good, but for me, this movie is once every few years kind of a watch, but I do feel it's still worth a revisit. 3 separate versions of the Chronicles of Riddick are on this Arrow Video 4K release. Disc 1 has the theatrical edition with an aspect ratio of 240:1. Disc 2, the director's cut, with an aspect ratio of 240:1, and Disc 3 is the theatrical edition with an open matte aspect ratio of 178:1. All 3 versions have native 4K resolution, and each one also supports HDR10 and Dolby Vision. For purposes of this review, I will be discussing the Dolby Vision transfer on Disc 3, the open matte edition. The Chronicles of Riddick underwent a restoration overseen by Arrow Video. The source is relatively clean. I really didn't notice any egregious imperfections or blemishes in this regard. Its presentation is pretty solid. Film grain is readily visible, though on occasion a bit inconsistent. I suspect the early 2000s use of special effects may have contributed to this. It's nothing off-putting, just worth noting. Bit rates are strong as Arrow's disc encoding is firmly on point as per usual. Glancing at my old Blu-ray, I found that the overall image clarity is not as night and day as you would think. This may just speak to the already good-looking presentation on the Blu-ray and less of an issue with this transfer. Detail enhancement really comes into focus when it comes to practical and live-action elements, as the aforementioned special effects can be a bit soft and less defined. For a movie as heavy-handed in special effects as this one is, results will vary. When it comes to the implementation of Dolby Vision, this is where I feel the money is at. The variety of locations throughout the film get a nice visual boost courtesy of the grading. It really feels like no 2 locations are alike, as each has distinct visual changes which are nicely enhanced. Skin tones appear natural and whites are stable. Black levels are generally well rendered with no problems, and shadow detail was spot on. I didn't witness any instances of crush. I watched the film for this review in the open matte aspect ratio, but afterwards I skimmed through the quote-unquote director's cut with the 240:1. To my eyes, the presentation is just as impressive. If there was any meaningful difference between the 2 versions, I would say grain structure is slightly tighter in this version as opposed to the one found in the open matte. The Chronicles of Riddick on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray supports a Dolby Atmos audio mix on Disc 1 and Disc 3, the theatrical version. This, of course, folds down to a Dolby True HD 7.1. On Disc 2, the director's cut, it supports a DTS 5.1 audio mix. For the Atmos mix on the theatrical cut, this was almost immediately apparent with just how much of an upgrade this was from the previous 5.1. Don't get me wrong, the old 5.1 is more than serviceable. It's actually pretty great, but the newly minted height activity is very obvious in the film's opening 30 minutes. Spaceships freely move on top of you during the Necromonger's invasion of Helium Prime. The initial barrage from above plays well and makes for some very entertaining moments. For the rest of the film, audio cues let up just a tiny bit up there, but there are no less impactful for the rest of the runtime. The mid-level and rears are equally impressive with a plentiful array of dynamic activity and action. The film is filled to the brim with chaos and is reflected well in the surround environment. Dialogue reproduction is clean from start to finish, even when things really ramp up. The LFE is robust and punchy throughout. Explosions hit hard and with intensity. Even environmental effects such as the sunrise and crematoria give the sub a solid bit of oomph. As for the 5.1 on the director's cut, it seems to be more or less on par with the previous Blu-ray. As I mentioned earlier, that audio mix is nothing to sneeze at and is generally a well-rounded and often energetic track. For an audio mix well regarded as this one, you really have to bring something to the table if you're going to add a Dolby Atmos, and I firmly believe it does so with the theatrical version. Once again, Arrow Video shows why they are one of the best in the business when it comes to providing their customers with supplemental material. Divided over the 3 different versions of the film, each disc has something to offer and it's all absolutely worth your attention. Disc 1 features the new content offered by Arrow, and we now have a full-blown making of which clocks in well over an hour. There are sit-down interviews with the film's director and various crew and cast talking about bringing the film to life. I honestly found myself more interested in this than the film itself. You can definitely see there was some passion from the director about the project and some of the shortcomings with the finished film. There's also another 13-minute short featuring the director talking about Riddick and his creation. A 10-minute interview with Keith David more or less rounds out things on Disc 1, and it's always good to hear the actor and what he thinks about his role. Disc 2 is mostly archival content, including some general behind-the-scenes on-set pieces, the visual effects, the world of the film, deleted scenes, and much, much more. There are also a pair of legacy audio commentaries featuring the director and Vin Diesel, and another one with the director and Carl Urban and Alexa Davalos. Disc 3 contains the 33 minutes worth of cutscenes put together from the 2004 video game tie-in Escape from Butcher Bay. I played this one many years ago, and it was good to get a refresher of just what went down in that pretty well-regarded video game spin-off. There's also a 22-minute television special, The Lowdown, which promotes the theatrical release of the film. For the picture quality, I'm going to give the Chronicles of Riddick on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray an A. The 4K transfer for all three versions of the film from Arrow Video are well worth the price of admission and a solid visual upgrade. The new open matte edition of the film is something that's well worth looking into, and it's a great option to have. For the audio mix, I scored this an A+. The new Dolby Atmos for the theatrical cut is outstanding and will definitely make audiophiles happy across the board. The new height channel activity is fun and entertaining and adds a new dimension to the experience. The audio track is honestly well worth upgrading for alone. And for the extras, I graded them an A+. Honestly, if every film received this amount of bonus materials that this one did, there would be very little need to search for anything else in other places. I really don't think, aside from new interviews with Vin Diesel himself, one could have asked for anything more as far as extras. This is how you bring additional content to physical media collectors. So that is my review of the Chronicles of Riddick on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray from Arrow Video. If you're interested in picking up a copy for yourself, I will leave a direct Amazon link in the comment section. If you use it, it really helps out the channel. But if you have the disc already, let me know your thoughts down below. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.